Hello and welcome boys and gits to another Orc-centric episode of Dread Wargaming. Now in this episode I'm going to be taking a little look at all of the Orc offerings from GameswOrkshop. All those things that we've all been waiting for, all the anticipation. Finally it comes to a head. I've got my hands on all of the stuff. Unfortunately you're not going to see me rip into it though, because I did that all before on camera and accidentally pressed the red button and destroyed the lot. So I'm sorry about that, but you are going to get a much more in-depth look because now I've had a chance to properly look at it, I've got a few opinions and I'd like to share them. I really hope that GameswOrkshop are not entirely done with rebooting the Orc range here. I really do hope that this is round one and that we'll see round 2 and 3 even possibly. My hopes are slightly dashed though by the way that they have removed all of the older kits from the shelves and brought them back out on the shelves just with replaced bases. Doesn't really fill me with confidence that they're going to replace the range, but we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep praying. But I would like to share with you guys, before we actually look at Orktober and unbox it itself, I'd like to share with you what my hopes were as an Orc player before Orktober was even announced, what I wanted from any kind of focus on the Orcs. So here, let's take a look. So, the Buggy and the War Track have not been updated. They have been completely written off. Completely thrown out the door, see you later, goodbye. Now, you can still go and visit them at the retirement home. I mean, the index book, which I'm sure will not be around for very much longer. So say your goodbyes now. But these new vehicles, these 5 new vehicles, they have no customization. So unlike the Buggy and the War Track, where you could go with a Scorcher, a Rockets or a big shooter, effectively giving you a choice of 3 vehicles in one or such, these vehicles are very stuck in their ways. They've got fancy names like Custom, Booster Blaster and things like that, but there's no customization available, I'm afraid. Take the model as it is, no additional bits and bobs and no choice of weapons, just that's what you got. And that's the way we're going. That's the way GameswOrkshop are going, because they just do not like the competition, do not like scratch builders or kit bashers or converters, it seems. They only care about money, and that's just that. So, off of my list there's also the Devcopter that received absolutely no new anything. It's just the same old Devcopter. We got no new commandos, no new tank busters, no new characters, and no new war boss. And in actual fact, the war boss has actually lost options, as has the big mech and the pain boy. They no longer have the bike option, so in fact we've lost HQ options, which is terrible. It's really awful. Many of us really love our characters on bikes. They are, particularly if you're having a Speed Freaks centric army now, don't be replacing our bikes. Don't be doing that. What are you playing at, GameswOrkshop? That is frustrating. War gear options list in the Codex is shortened right down now to 14 items. It might as well almost not exist. It could just be a bubble, in a little bubble on the side of a page. It's pathetic. It's not a list anymore. It's just a few things. 14 things broken down into 3 categories. So there's the knobs equipment, there's the shooty things, and battle wagon equipment. My hopes for the Codex to include Scar Boys and Hard Boys, however, have been semi-fulfilled. I've done a video about this, so you can check that out down below in the rest of my videos there. Just have a look around, scout around. Scar Boys and Hard Boys, it's called. In that, I point out that Scar Boys shouldn't be a goth-centric or goth-specific clan trait. They are a natural progressive step in an Orc's development, so they should be open to all of the tribes or clans. And the Hard Boys armour should be a 4-up save, not a 5-up. That's not going to make it worthwhile, especially not if you're asking for command points to purchase it instead of war gear option points. I'd much rather pay for things in points the traditional way than have this stupid command point system. I don't mind it, it's okay, it works fine for the game, but it's not how you build your list. It's how you buy perks and options, not how you construct the list itself. It really does annoy me that their new gimmick has found its way into my Codex so abruptly and rudely. I just dislike it, really do. Next on my list is the looted Wagon, and I'm sure it's on a lot of other Orc players' lists too, or was. Now, it has been omitted. It's not in the Codex, right? This really frustrated me, especially after they said, the Codex you've all been waiting for. And so many of us shared our opinions on the looted Wagon on Facebook groups, the Warhammer community page, and lots of other places, so they didn't not know that we wanted the looted Wagon back. They knew. But they have decided to give us it back, just not in the Codex. So people like myself who have bought the Codex, or even the special edition Codex for prosperity's sake as a collector, you're going to be really annoyed to find that the looted Wagon isn't there. They just missed it out. But it's not that they didn't intend to bring it back. Oh no, they do intend to bring it back. They just don't want to give you a complete Codex. They'd rather force your hand to buy their book of errors, known as chapter approved. I would probably have bought that book anyway for the gaming aspect, you know, for knowing what's up to date and all the rest. Don't force my hand. Don't take something from my Codex and put it in another book and force me to buy that book. I don't want to return to 7th edition where I'm having to look through 10 bloody books just to play one army. And don't go down that road of putting rules in the White Dwarf again for my army either. That is really infuriating. Let's take a look at this new Codex then. Now, here it is. Now, one thing to note straight away is the cover. Now, every time that we had a new Codex in the past, we'd always receive a new cover artwork. It would look different. The layout inside would be different every time. Now, sometimes that does mean that you might end up with something worse than before, but most often not. I mean, it only happened in the case of when 7th came along. So, seeing that this had the exact same cover on it as the 7th edition Codex really had me worried and concerned. I expressed those concerns in the community. I actually said, look, I think this is going to be a good indicator of what we should expect, which is very little. If they don't have the desire, or they can't be making the effort to replace even the cover art, then we shouldn't be expecting too much. So when I got hold of this book, I was prepared for the worst, and you know, knowing that things are missing from it before it even came out, I was pretty upset. So the first sleeve art page here, see, this picture was in the last Codex, the 7th edition Codex. Only there it was slightly nicer because it was actually rendered in green instead of grey. So one up for the 7th edition Codex is not something I was hoping to be saying at this stage. Then we have an artwork very much the same as what we had in 7th. We had one just there as well. It was a different artwork, but it was the same style. Okay, so the fluff in this book is the exact bloody same, right? There is a nice artwork, you know, in that page there. We had a nice artwork there of the Orcs versus Tau. That artwork features later on. But as far as the fluff is concerned, it is reworded at best in some places. The rest of it is complete copy-paste. So there's nothing new and exciting in the way of fluff, nothing to get your teeth into, no new things that you can, no new facts to pick up and stuff like that. It's just the same. It's nice to see that the clans and tribes, though, they've been expanded just slightly. I mean, it's still really very much the old information we've all had before. But for myself, it's particularly good to see that freebooters actually got their entry, because as far as I'm concerned, they are a grouping of orcs, just the same as any other. They might not be a traditional clan because they're a mishmash of clans. You know, all the best orcs from every clan that got too big for their boots in their own tribe, all the heroes and misfits and all the biggest, brutish, best orcs with the flashiest guns and all the rest, they all end up as freebooters. So it is a grouping, so I'm very glad that they've actually made it into this codex. That's one of the few things I'm glad of in this codex. I will say, there's plenty that I'm not happy with. Another interesting thing of note is in the introduction to the codex here, actually. It says, every orc citadel miniature is lavishly detailed, and in many cases, right, they have interchangeable components that allow greenskin collectors to customize and convert their army in almost limitless ways that Games Workshop seems to love to limit, don't they? Besides the loss of the War Boss on bike and the Big Mech on bike and the Pain Boy on bike, so all of the bike options for HQs are gone, we've also lost a lot of other options. And as I was saying before, the Orc War Gear, it's a terribly small page. In fact, they've had to put a big picture down here just to sort of fill it out, and lots of empty space. There's 14 items there, divided, as I said, between 3 groupings, so it's not a customizable army anymore. It's really not. It's very disappointing from a modeller's perspective. It might be a great codex for the gamer, and it might make Orcs more playable, but from a converter's modeller's perspective, it's not a good codex whatsoever. So those options that they've omitted from the codex, they've removed, those were all things that Games Workshop introduced to us in the first place. You know, a lot of these models that are now missing, like the Big Mech with the custom force field is missing. We didn't know what a Big Mech with custom force field was until Games Workshop birthed the idea, introduced it to us, and sold it to us. Now, they sold it to us in previous codexes, and they sold us the models in most cases as well. So we have these items you invented and sold to us, and now you want to remove them from us because you're afraid that in the absence of you having a model for them at the time being, people might go to one of your rivals or one of these third-party companies and buy something that you don't make. Well, if you don't make it, you're not losing anything. And in fact, people's choice of where they're going to spend their money is going to happen anyway. You trying to shackle us and force us in the many ways that you're doing now, Games Workshop, to stick with you and your products is forcing people the other way. I promise you that. I believe Games Workshop should stick to producing better models and better fluff. But if you don't make the model, make the model. You invented it in the very first place, so bring it back. Put the time and effort and the resources and all the money that you have into producing brilliant models. That way people won't want to go to third-party companies. If your models are far and above and just so much more enjoyable to use than everybody else's, and I'm not just talking about pretty, as all the new Orc vehicles, oh, they're very pretty, but they don't have options, as I'm about to show you. There's no extra bits in those kits to bolt on and make it in any way interesting beyond how it looks on the box. There's nothing spare on the sprue. You use every bit to make it look as it does on the box. No weapon options, that's it. Very much like a Primaris Marine, really. That seems to be the way the hobby is going, and I dislike it. I really do. When I joined this hobby, it was a place where people that were interested in different aspects of this hobby, so people that were interested in painting could obviously be enthralled by all the detail on the models. People that were into wargaming could come along for a well put together wargaming experience, and that's something that Games Workshop had done very well. You know, their rule system is the reason that we all flood to them, because they're an all-in-one package. But what they have forgotten about is those people that were modelers, people that went into a shop, liked the idea of recreating some realism or changing things, cutting things, and using their imagination. Those people have been really left out in the dark as far as I'm concerned, and it's, for me, very strange. I think Games Workshop are almost akin to Lego. Have you ever noticed how in the old days Lego used to be a mixed bag of stuff, and you could buy several different Lego sets and put them together and mix them all together, and you just use your imagination to build whatever you fancied? Well, now Lego sets are SpongeBob or Pirates of the Caribbean, or they're all Hollywood related, TV show related characters that don't intermingle, parts don't intermix so well. It's a commercial mess, and that's exactly what Games Workshop are going for. They are becoming a branding nightmare. All they care about is their brand, their thing, pushing as much of it onto you as possible, forcing your arm as they are with the Codex and the chapter approved situation with the looted wagon, forcing your arm into buying further products. And then that'll leave us, as we were in 7th, with 10 books open to play one army. I'm not into that. I'm really not into that. So I am disappointed in this book, as I rightly knew I would be when I looked at the cover. I'm sure it'll play better, and I'll let you know. I will be doing some further reading on this. I'll put together an army list using this and do a Tactica Orks as well. So that side of things should be more exciting, but certainly the modelling side of Orks is certainly taken a step backwards, which is really sad, because 7th was a step backwards, so now we're really dropping. Not the Codex I was waiting for at all. So I've already pointed out that we've lost a lot of our units, but we have of course gained units. We've got the 5 new vehicles. As I've expressed, they are confined in what you can do with them. There's no options for them. But what they have done is given us 2 new entries for the Battle Wagon. So we have the Battle Wagon, which is toughness 7, transport 20, and it's fairly standard. It doesn't come with any options, it's just the Battle Wagon model. You can then take options. It's one of the few things in this codex that still has some options. And then you have the Gun Wagon, which is toughness 8. So it's got an extra toughness, you're going to pay for that. The power level is 9, whereas the Battle Wagon was 8. So the points are going to be more too. But included in that, you do get a cannon and a periscope, which is allowing you to shoot twice, basically, if you don't move or you move only half speed. So that's useful. Don't know quite how adding a cannon and a periscope to a vehicle improves its toughness, though. Doesn't... fluffy, not very fluffy, no. And we also have the Bone Breaker, which again gets an increased toughness for an increased points and power level rating. On that one, it comes equipped with the Death Roller as standard. Now both the Bone Breaker and the Gun Wagon are basically just battle wagons with, like I say, this one with a cannon, this one with a Death Roller. So for some reason those things make it tougher. I understand them making it more expensive, of course. That's absolutely fine. I feel personally that this is Games Workshop going, oh dear, we have removed a lot from this codex. We need to fill these pages out and make it not seem as if we've lost so much. So why don't we just take that one thing and spread it between 3 pages and make it look like more than one thing? But realistically, all you're looking at here is options for a battle wagon spread across 3 pages. Yeah, not all that fantastic, really. There we are. Okay, so let's have a look at the other products that arrived for the Orc range, the reboot. I'm not going to say for October because they didn't. They actually arrived in November. The only thing to really arrive in October in the closing days was Speed Freaks, which arrived on the 27th, I think it was. The first of these products I would like to have a look at is the Orc Dice. Now, these come in a lovely bit of packaging, and this box has got a nice little snap closing mechanism. It's quite nice. I mean, you're probably not going to keep it, the box itself, but you know, it's got a lovely, even the internal of it is actually printed, which is kind of nice. I mean, it's a nice piece of cardboard is what that is. And these are some very beautiful dice. They are very pretty. The problem is that they have a skull emblem, not just on the 1 or not just on the 6, but on both the 1 and the 6. All the other numbers, 2 to 5, are marked with Orc Dags, which is nice. I would have liked it to have been 1 to 5 in Orc Dags, and then the 6 being a skull. But instead they've done the 1 and the 6 in a skull. So when you go throwing these on the table, it's going to be awkward. Awkward, yes, that's the word we like using. Awkward. For your enemy to, or your opponent, we won't call them your enemy, your opponent, to discern what you're throwing. I wouldn't like to see Eldar dice or Necron dice or anything like that being thrown that had symbols on the 1s and the 6s. it would confuse me. It would make me feel as if the opponent was cheating. So I don't think these are going to be very popular, especially not with your opponent. So I wouldn't go out buying these in any large quantity, especially not when you only get 20 in the pack. So you're going to need a good few packs of these. You're going to spend a ton, easy, to have enough dice to play with Orks. And then you're just going to upset your opponent. They're not going to want to play you with these horrible dice. I mean, they will work best, I believe, as marker dice. And that's all I'm going to use mine for. So I'm going to just stick to the one packet. Be happy and content that I have some Orky dice. But to be honest with you, if you want some Orky dice and you need a big bunch of dice to play Orks usually, your best bet is to go to somewhere like Amazon or Wish or any of those horrible generic websites that sell everything in bulk for cheap, and buy yourself some green dice or some green marbled dice, or red ones go faster even. Get yourself some coloured dice and make sure they're all just the one colour so you can tell yours from your enemy's dice or your opponent's dice. Let's take a look at the Mech Boys Workshop. Now, the first thing I would like to point out about this Mech Boys Workshop is how much this looks like a Lego set on the front. When I saw this, first of all, of course, my eye was just drawn to those tools. Whose wasn't? Let's be honest. Some fantastic detailed tools that really excited me straight away. But then I took a sort of step back and I looked at the entirety of the picture. And I thought, blimey, doesn't that look like a Lego set these days? I'm sorry to keep comparing Games Workshop to Lego, but this to me looks just like all the modern Lego sets where you get naffle product for your money, really. You very few pieces. This is being called a workshop. And in actual fact, that's a workbench. That's all that is a workbench and a hoist. It's not in a workshop. So the problem I'm going to have with this workshop is that I'm going to want to build it more substantial than that. I'm going to want it to be more workshop looking. The trouble therein lies that they've made rules for this. So this is interactive terrain. So if I go making it 2 or 3 times larger, or putting walls around it and obscure, which could obscure the view of a truck that was parked at it or something like that, then your opponent is going to rightly say, hey look, you know, this is causing you to have a better effect than you would if you was using just the standard Games Workshop one. I think that might be why they haven't put it on a base like they do a lot of things that have rules, because as far as they're concerned, this is the only Mech Boy Workshop that is game legal, is this set up as it is here. You go building yourself a wall around it or making it look like an actual workshop or garage rather than just a bench, then I think it might be only available for you to use in your narrative battles, because as far as actually playing it in competitions, I think this is the only way it's going to be accepted. Which is, well, it is what it is, isn't it, really? Let's put it that way. The other thing of note in this is that it actually comes with the same barricades and scrap piles as the Speed Freaks box. So if you was somebody that wanted to get your hands on the Orc scenery and the workbench and bits and bobs, this actually works out as quite a decent little set for you to get, especially if you're not going to go buying the Speed Freaks. The details of the barricades are fantastic. These ones here, right? They line up perfectly with the Forge World and the Cromlech ones. That the Forge World ones no longer exist. The Cromlech ones still do. Both have a little more around the bottom of them, around this area here. And I would suggest that you make, you know, with some cardboard or some plastic card or whatever you use, make yourself a small base similar to those with these, especially if you have those other type of barricades that were made by the Forge World and Cromlech, because then they'll tie in a lot better. But even if you don't, these will look better with just a little bit of a base on them, I'm quite sure. There is also another thing, actually, before I put this box down, I'll point out this little engine here. This engine is the same as the engine, or almost the same. It's very, very slightly different, but It's the same size and shape and all the rest as the one on the Boomdaka Snaz Wagon. So there you go, guys. There's a little nice little conversion versatility option for you there. That's something to be happy about. But what I'm not so happy about is some of the quality of the details. So these scrap piles here, they are fantastic. They're really beautiful, except they have something of an issue with regards to proportion, dimensions, and I'll show you what I mean. So it might be easier if I'll just show you this way. Right, so look, this tyre here, it is at the front just very slightly taller than a tyre should be, but that you wouldn't really notice. But then when you look inside of that tyre, it's doubly as deep as a tyre should be. And in actual fact, what they've done is they put this tyre here at the front continues round inside. So that would be fine if the height of this tyre was where this tyre ended inside and there was other stuff below it, but there isn't. That tyre goes down the depth of another tyre again. So it's doubly deep. So that's like a 4 foot high tyre there, almost. But they have put little bits of rubble right down in the very bottom of it, just not up to the right depth. So it just, as your eye looks at these two tyres, both of them, they're just too deep. So that it puts the eye off. The same is true with this door here. See, this door's got a slight window on it, and this door, is the other side of it, would obviously be concave. So you'd expect to look through there and see the curvature down and a scrap pile, but instead you've got a really, really, really deep hole that goes down much, much further. It goes right from that door to the very bottom of the stack. So it's really deep, and it's got some debris in the bottom of there. Not enough though. You know, it's lovely little details, but it's not enough. It should be much higher up. The pile should be closer to the top of this hole, you know. So unfortunately, that's something we're going to have to fix, and I'm going to show you how I fix that in a later episode. Was there any other issue with this? There was, yes, indeed there was. So another thing I was really looking forward to on this set was the tools, obviously. So the tools on the workbench look fabulous. These ones on the shelf, I would buy in multiples. If they still did the bits kits, these shelf tools, they're awesome. You've got a burner mask for your mech and some oil cans and tools and bits. They're fantastic. But then you've got this toolbox, which from this angle looks fantastic also, doesn't it? Looks great. But if I was to show you it from this angle, you can see, hopefully, I put my hand behind it there, there is a perspective problem with the tools as well. So they're just too deep for a tool. The edge of the spanner is deeper than the tool below it. So it's where these things have been designed on a 3D design program, and they've been dragged and pulled and all of this, but nobody's gone in with the human eye to check that these things actually look correct. Now, had that toolbox been built by somebody in a traditional way, a sculptor, what they would have done is they would have created the box, and then they would have created all the little tools, and they would have created a pile of stuff in there, and then they would have put the most highly decorated tools that they made on the top there, and they would have looked authentic. This has been done in a 3D designing program, so okay, you can get some low down details that would have been, no, it wouldn't really have been difficult for a sculptor. It's just this is easier for them, that's all this is. This is lazy and easy, and I'm not happy with the product. The finished product isn't good enough, mate. You know, that's what it boils down to. Yes, you've got all these lovely little details and blah, 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 but if there's a problem with those details, if the perspective looks out, it's just not right. We're modelers. You know, we're into replicating as best as possible realism on a miniature scale. And you failed in that there, Games Workshop. Yet again. Okay, so the first of the new vehicles that I'd like to have a look at, that I've already unboxed, is the Boomdaka Snaz Wagon. Now, as I was saying, this engine here that it comes with at the top. It's almost identical to the engine here that comes on the hoist with the Mech Boys Workshop, so you could cross them over no problem. That should be a nice little conversion for somebody to do there. A bit of variation. The wheels on this are fantastic, right? Really do like the look of these wheels. I really like the hubcaps in there with the little screaming skull emblems on them. Fantastic. The disappointing thing about this kit, even though it is probably, yeah, it is my favourite of the new vehicles. I particularly really like the Mad Max grot on the front. You know, that's really lovely detail and it brilliant little homage. Strange how Games Workshop don't mind borrowing from other people, but when anyone does it to them, they dislike it. But the disappointing thing with this kit is actually that the Orc Boys and the Grots are not interchangeable. So that introduction in the new Codex, where it's talking about interchangeable parts and how in most cases they are. Well, this is one of the cases where they're not, and this is a new kit. So I find that really rather disappointing. If you buy 2 of these, which I'm not going to, because of that fact, you're going to end up with your drivers and your crew looking the exact same. Now, alright, you could convert them. It's going to be a lot harder to convert these though. You're going to have to actually cut them up and green stuff them and all the rest. It's not that I can't do that, and maybe one day I will, but as a principle thing, I'm not going to be buying any more of these kits. Next up we have the Megatrack Scrap Jet. That is the hardest vehicle name out of all. Mega Scrap Track Jet. Is that it? The Megatrack Scrap Jet. See, it's a very awkward name. Don't. Anyway, I won't be saying it too often because I won't be playing it too often, I shouldn't imagine. But let's see this kit, because this kit is probably, even though it's not my favourite model of these at all. In fact, it's one of my lesser favourites. Personally, I like the Rucker Truck Squid Buggy and the Boomdecker Snaz Wagon for their look. Just more Orc Buggy looking, I like that. This is inventive though, it's very creative. I encourage this, it's a good model. And what I really like about it, as I say, is it's the perfect kit to buy 4 bits. So, the hull of the jet. Obviously you can make a jet with that. It's about half the size of the previous Orc jets and stuff, the ones that actually are flyers. So those guys out there that have converted their own Megatrack Scrap Jet out of the Orc flyers will have a real problem getting it onto the base, I would imagine. I mean, they look great, but they're going to be twice the size of these ones. But yes, this for parts. So as I was saying, for parts, these tracks here, right? They are perfect for grot tanks. They are the exact right size for the grot tank. They're the same size as the Forge World and the Cromlech grot tank tracks. They're just maybe a couple of millimeters shorter, but they'll fit in perfectly. The exhausts. There's a couple of really nice bellowy exhausts that you can use on a conversion somewhere else. They're nice. These wheels, they're okay. They're usable elsewhere. Exciting thing on here actually is rockets. You've got a good few loose rockets here, and one with a smokestack coming out of it that doesn't have any awkward little extra bits on it anywhere. So you can use that anywhere. It's customizable. This kit is a customizable kit for other kits, if you get me. It's an upgrade kit for other kits. So the pilot, he is able to accept standard Orc heads, and that is a standard Orc neck that he has. So there he is. Let's see, standard Orc neck. And where's the head? Where is the head? Doobie-dooby-doo. It's very difficult to see. There's the pilot's head, and the back of it is your standard Orc neck connection, head neck connection. So that's gorgeous too. Also, we've got these the nose cone that goes in the end of the in the front end of the vehicle. Now, if you don't build this vehicle as it should be and you want to use these bits, that would make a really good like dread power fist claw drill claw thing just to swing about and break face with. Yeah, I think this is actually a fantastic kit for bits. So maybe buy one to build as it is and buy one to add to other kits. That's probably what I'll do. And see, I'm like I said with the previous one, even though I prefer the Boomdacker Wagon, I wouldn't encourage the purchase of that kit because the Orc and the crew are not standardised and they're not customisable, and I just dislike that. I really, really dislike that. So that's that one. And next up we have the Orktober Squid Buggy. Now, I think the vehicle itself, the actual shape of the vehicle, is fantastic. The rules sound exciting and fun. It's kind of a jack of all trades vehicle by the sounds of things. And again, I'm happy that the heads of the boys, they're interchangeable. The heads of the grots, they're interchangeable. So again, I would encourage this as a kit for people to buy. The wheels are probably my favourite wheels of all of the new vehicles. They've got really nice little spike details on the edges. The problem I have with this kit though is the squigs themselves. So it's a squig buggy, but all of the squigs are fairly rubbish. You know, that they're not very detailed. They almost do look Lego. I'm not even joking. I know this is the Lego versus Games Workshop episode, I swear, but these are really cartoony, and I mean they only had to be. I mean, if that came in that yellow or the red plastic that the Speed Freaks toys come in, you'd be convinced that was just a little Lego toy. You know, it lacks the graphic detail of some of the third-party squigs that are out there. Okay, now this is a Cromlech squig. Look at that. That has got some serious detail, and the face looks like an orc. It looks like an orcoid, actually, but it's huge. I mean, like, it is comparative. You know, it's a large squig. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's one that's going to go over War Boss, but these squigs are absolutely tiny. All right, they're being shot through a gun, but it's hard to discern the detailing in them as well. They just look like a soup, a squig soup. I think about the best one that's on this is probably the squig stick bomb, squig stick. That one looks okay. What I do like on this sprue as well, actually, there is one thing I'd like to point out as something I am kind of excited about. It's a pathetic little thing. We've got grots, but we also have a runt. I think we've only got the one. We might even have we got more than one runt? No, you get one runt. A little tiny little dude, just up here at the top. There he is. I think that's cute. I hope that other people may not want to use that, and I'll end up with a couple of them, I wouldn't, because he's got his hand in the air, he's cheering too, so you could actually have a couple of them and just move them around slightly, and they could be a crowd of cheering runts. Oh, there's so many things you could do with it anyway. So, yes and no with this kit. I like it and I dislike it. There's wins and ums and ahs, but overall I'm fairly happy. I would encourage people to buy this. I would say, yeah, go out and get yourself a Orktober Squid Buggy. Sure, why not? The Death Killer War Trike, ta-da, is the last of the new vehicles that doesn't come in the Speed Freaks. This is the last standalone one. This one again does have customizable heads. In fact, it comes with two head options for the driver, the guy that's actually driving the bike. And it's got some great little details. The back of the War Boss, the back of his jacket, he's got a flaming skull on the back there. There's some really fantastic little details on this kit. The bike chassis itself, just here, See, that looks very much like the chassis of a standard Orc bike. Similar, anyway. So it's almost, it fits in with the rest of the range is what I'm saying. So it's not going to look out of place against your other bikes, but also there's going to be a possibility for some conversion there where you could perhaps use the front of one of the other bikes and proxy it in, you know. I'm really liking the shotgun things. They're really cool, the double barrels. The wheels on this one are very boring, very plain. You might want to maybe spruce them up a little bit more. The downside to this kit is, you know, it's a war boss entry, but you can't, there's no extra options for it. You know, that in fact, once you put it together, you're going to be left with one spare head. You know, there's no war gear options even available for this war boss. So even if you don't like that claw he has and you want to use a standard power claw, or you want a big chopper, or you want anything else on that guy, you want to give him some kind of a different firing weapon, or any, just all of those, or you want to give him armor, any of that, no, can't do it. There's no options. Just like I said, just like Primaris Marines, what you get in the box is all you're going to have, and that's it. There's no option to improve or make it personalised. So really taking the imagination and fun out of the hobby for a lot of people that enjoy modelling, which is a real shame. All of the new vehicles also come with a colour printed booklet that has, as you'll see here, some instructions that are colour coded. So there's some blue and greeny bits on these and yellowy bits so you can actually see what you're doing. And at the back of each of these you also have the rules for each model and how to play it in various languages as well. It doesn't have a colour painting guide in these particular ones. So I suppose for those people that are buying this as a new player, and you're wanting to know how to paint this exactly as it is, you're going to have to look on the Digital Painting app, or check out their YouTube videos or something like that. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing that that's not in the back, because, you know, it's inconsistent. They do it in some and they don't do it in others. Also in the boxes of the new vehicles you get the unspeakable bases. Now, I say unspeakable, a lot of people are avoiding the subject. I rather like basing vehicles. I don't like the paint chipping on the bottom of the model. I'm a fan of basing, and I think not only does it protect the model, but it provides a standard for sizing. So for people like myself that like to scratch build and convert and build things from imagination and build our own rendition of, you know, it gives us at least the size confines of what our creation should be. So if I'm now making my own version of any of those new vehicles, I know that it has to be that size. That's the shape it should fit onto. It shouldn't protrude off of that. Okay? I think that's really helpful, especially with sizing vehicles that, well, it doesn't actually exist anymore. I was going to say vehicles that they don't have a model for, but they have a Codex entry for. But like I say, they've done away with that now, don't they? So, but yeah, I'm in favour of those. I think they make it fairer. They make the game fairer. They don't really destroy anything. For a converter or scratch builder, other than ridiculous out of proportion sizing issues, I think this actually helps a scratch builder converter. So I'm all for those. Another thing of note is that none of these boxes actually contain any decals. I personally was hoping that they would replace the old decals. These are the old Orc decals. I'm sure many of you recognise these, and you probably have hundreds of them if you've been collecting for a while. I was hoping that we would see a reboot or a new version of those, especially with new vehicles. You know, usually you get something. You did with the Orc Flyer. There was a few cool decals there to be had, or was it the Morknaut? I'm not sure. One of the vehicles not so long ago had a fresh sheet of decals. So why nothing new with these? I think, personally, that Games Workshop are leaving the door open again for a third-party company. Despite them always wanting to be closing it, they do seem to leave these nice little gaps where people can fill them in. So, if any third-party companies that specialise in Orks are listening, I would strongly encourage you to just make a very simple decal sheet for Orks. We would all love it. We'd probably all buy it. It'll be cheap enough, I'm sure. You could even throw it in with some of your kits even. That would be even better. Lastly, we have the Speed Freaks box. Now, I think the very first thing to notice clearly about this box is the box art itself. It's very eye-catching. Now, they don't need to make things this eye-catching for us hobbyists that are already into 40k. This is to draw new people in. And I actually believe that this box is aimed at a secondary market to 40k fanatics. I mean, a lot of Games Workshop standalone games, they are standalone games, but how many people do you know outside of the 40k hobby that really, outside of Games Workshop fans, that actually play those games? Very, very few. And I think they're trying to rectify that with this box. So this box, as many people have noticed, the lid doesn't, the top lock box doesn't meet the bottom of the bottom box. It comes to sort of, you know, 2/3 of the way down. I think that's just to make it easy to open. That's all that is about. It does that. Is it fully closed? So I think that's just to allow it to be opened very easy. The other thing to notice actually is the depth of this box. The depth of this box is 3.5 inches or 90mm. Now, the tallest model in this box, the custom booster blaster, this chap here with a guy with a gun on top, that's the tallest model in the box. Now that weighs in, or height weighs in at 3 inches when it's complete. So I think what they're aiming to achieve here is a box that somebody can pick off the shelf, your casual board gamer, your casual family board gamer, or even your board gaming fanatic, can pick this off the shelf. They can put all the bits together inside. They don't need to paint them because they're already rendered in the red and yellow. And once they're done, they can put it all back in the box and on the shelf. The only downside to that, as you can hear, is those heavy game tiles in there are going to knock the living, they're going to mash the crap out of any models that you put in there if you go moving this around on the shelf. So what I would like to have seen Games Workshop do is actually give us some interesting box internals. A nice box layout inside, as many other board games do, and I'm sure if Games Workshop had bothered to check out some other board games out there, they would have seen that, you know, games such as the one I mentioned before, Wasteland Express, that has a fantastic organisation inside. Zombicide. Zombicide is fairly well, you know, you can buy different organisers for that as well. Maybe they should have thought about that with this, because these game tiles are about the heaviest game board tiles I think I've ever come across in a board game. They are seriously, they're just underneath this manual here, they're seriously heavy. We'll look at those in just a short while. One huge win with the Kill Team box is the fact that the Black Library teaser that they are very fond of dropping into a lot of their box sets, in this one it's actually themed for the Orc player. It has an Orc on the front at the very least. I have been told that the story isn't completely focused on Orcs, it's more an Imperial perspective and they encounter Orcs, but still, that's fairly good going. I'm not going to complain about that. Well done, GW. And this side's a bit dull, it's just got Speed Freaks with an S, should be a Z if you ask me. The background is the muted version of the picture that we have on the box and we have on this side, which I like this one. I'm going to go framing this up and probably put it in the studio here. I don't know that you're going to see it in the, I don't think it's going to be in camera shot really. But if you want to get yourself one, get yourself the Speed Freaks box, take this out and make sure you frame it. Keep it nice, otherwise it'll get damaged. I mean, this one has already got a few little dents in it here and there from the sprues in the box. That's unfortunate, it's going to happen though. But once it's framed up, it should be safe. So, Orky Ruler, which has got a few checks and dags. Well, no, it's got no dags, it's just got some checks and a few Roman numerals and a few cogs. So it's not that particularly orky. It just kind of is more orky than any of the other ones they do. I don't really like these floppy rulers. They're alright. They're kind of see-through, kind of handy, but they, yeah. I like the old whippy rulers. At least then if someone gave you some back chat, you could take them around the back of their legs with the old ruler as well. They were handy. box we have a set of dice. It's a set because it belongs to the game, so therefore a set, not two sets. It's one set. Also in the box is the assembly guide. And this assembly guide I'm actually very happy with. This is much better than what we got in the Kill Team box. So in here we've got some nice coloured or colour-coded pictures of how to construct your vehicle. Once you've got it put together at the end, you see there's no extra things that you can add on. There's no spare gubbins and bits and bobs in these boxes, or for these models, these new Orc vehicles. The bikes as well, they've got those in here as well, how to construct the bikes and nice colour diagrams. They've included the rules for 40k for the Shock Jump Dragster, the Custom Booster Blaster, and the war bikes too. So they've got all of the rules for all of the miniatures in the box, which is again another step above what they managed to do for us in Kill Team. And the other thing that they've given us that they didn't give us before, in the Kill Team box anyway, was a colour painting guide. I moaned about this. It's not because I want to use it, it's just that I think that this is very useful for a beginner or anybody that is trying to achieve the Games Workshop style of painting. You know, I think that's a good thing to have on the back of your books. It doesn't hurt. Next up, we have the rule book. Now this one's a bit more glossy than the last one, than the assembly guide. And this one's 25 pages, so it's very small. And the rules don't start till page 5, and they run through to page 14. So they're very, very short, and in fact, as you see here, like they're broken up in the most part by lots of diagrams. The wording's quite large, so they're very, very simple. So this would be a very easy game to learn to play, which ties in with what I was saying about it being aimed at your casual board gamer as well, or your family board gamer. Also in the box are these unit cards. Now these are really quite cool. You've got one for red team and yellow team, and you can see the difference between the bikes there, you see? So it's easy to tell the difference. They've also included, here's a sample, the Megatrack Scrap Jet, or the Mega Scrap Jet. They have included one of these cards for each of the other new Speed Freaks vehicles that you might want to add to the game. So there's a card in there for each of those, which is helpful. Tiles themselves, the very heavy game tiles, these are what are adding a lot of the weight to the box. These fold out. Now, on one side, they're kind of imperial with this greeny hued wasteland. It's quite detailed, it's quite nice, not too bad. And the other side is your typical sandy orky desert with scrap piles. I like that one more, I think, personally. Just ties in more with the theme of Orcs, really. The only thing I would say about these game tiles, other than their weight and the way they've been shoddily cut out, is the fold line here. So where they've got this fold, this line here, I can already see it sort of distorting the paper that's laminated over the top of the card. Eventually that will tear. You know, the more times you do that, eventually that paper there is going to rip, and you're going to have a horrible light white stripe across there. It's not going to look too pretty. So these will do for now, I'm sure, but eventually, especially if you get any heavy use out of this game, you're going to start finding your game tiles looking a bit ugly, so you might want to replace them with a game mat, and I would recommend one of those mouse mat type ones that they're soft, you know, they don't get so damaged, whereas the vinyl ones, they rip. That's what I found anyway. One thing that comes with the game is all the many cards. So my favourites that I picked out, the critical damage cards. We have, what's that crunching noise? I think that's a good one. We've got, the front fell off. Another good one. And where's that smoke coming from? Clearly something went wrong. You know, I think they're quite humorous. I think they're funny. The custom jobs are even better. I actually really like these. The lucky Squig's foot. That is something that anybody that really likes modelling little hyper details into things, you know, having a couple of furry dice and a lucky Squig's foot in your Buggy's dash, that'd be really very cool. A Squig oil injector. That's something I can imagine modelling and having some fun with. So most of these custom jobs are things that I think, well, you know, it'd be fun to see that one. Also the whirly thing. Now the whirly thing, it says once per battle you can re-roll one attack dice or defense dice for this model. So it doesn't really determine what a wordy thing is, you just use your imagination. You think of it. So I can't wait to put a wordy thing on one of my vehicles. Also, the war horn. That's probably about my favourite. I mean, who wouldn't like to just drive down the road and wah! That's what you want. Decent, nice little war horn. So that's my favourite card. I'm going to be installing one of those on every vehicle. The actual bikes themselves are the exact same kits as we always used to have. So, these yellowy ones, and they also come in the red as well. Boom. Boom. Now, I really do like these bike kits. I'm going to express that first because for anybody new, these are great. These are fantastic vehicles, and don't let me put you off. The only thing is that they've existed for a long time now, and I really wish that GW had taken the opportunity, if not to update the entire kit, at least to update aspects of it. You know, there are heads on here that are very standard. You know, they've got the standard connection to the sprue is what I'm saying. So, fashioning on some different heads onto that sprue wouldn't have been difficult. It would have given us a bit more variety. Also, again, like the legs, all three of these legs are identical. There's no difference between them. Same with the yellow ones. Now, if it were me and I was re-releasing the Orc stuff, I would have said, guys, yeah, the bike kit, okay, we're not renewing it, okay, fine. They are nice. I think maybe we should at least send them down to the labs to have someone green stuff some extra details onto them. Now, if just two of those legs had some extra pockets added onto them, or had a few tears and rips added to them, and the handlebars had been given a bit of differentiation, then it would have given a bit of variety to people that already had these kits. I would have been tempted to buy more boxes of the Speed Freaks had there been more variety, or more, if there had been a difference to these bikes to the old ones, then I would have bought more of these sets to mix them in with. But there's not really anything with regard to bikes to make me bite. The new colour is actually a letdown, because this plastic, as Big Mech Danskull was actually saying in one of his videos, it does seem to perform differently. I've taken a hobby knife to the black plastic already, and I notice it's a lot more brittle than I'm used to, and I'm very used to chipping the plastic with a hobby knife. And I have found a difference in it. Now, GW is saying that there is no difference in it. It's the same formula and all the rest, but if you add anything to a recipe, you are changing the formula. The ratios are affected, so I think the plastic is slightly affected. I don't know how the red compares to the yellow and the black or what, but I know that the black with a knife seems to, in my opinion, chip very differently to the old grey GW plastic, the typical stuff that you'll find in most kits. The Shock Jump Dragster is probably my least favourite of the new vehicles, if I'm being honest, and this yellow render doesn't really help the situation. It's the F1 racer style for me. It doesn't, and the smoothness of the tyres. They might have these prickles on the outside here, but the smooth fronts, and also this nose of the bonnet there is too smooth and stuff for me. I'll probably square that off if I do build the vehicle. But what I do like about this kit is the grots and the driver, because they are interchangeable. The head's got a little, the neck's got a little peg on it, but you could file that off, or a little bit of plastic glue would probably melt that even. Don't use too much though. But like the little grots here, their bodies and their heads are compatible with the rest of the range. You know, the other small grotty bits that you'll probably have in your grots bits box if you have one. The shock attack gun bit, that goes on the back, you know, you can make an actual shock attack gun out of that, or use that elsewhere if you want to change the engine up or something like that. But I don't see too many useful bits on there, useful elsewhere. You know, the exhaust stacks and stuff like that, you could use them somewhere else and swap them for something else, but not very exciting, this kit, I don't think. Lastly, we have the custom booster blaster. Now this one I actually really like, and it's probably partly to do with the red render as well, because I like red. So it doesn't look as cheap as the yellow one, but it's not about that. It's actually the details. So I really like the wheels on this one particularly. They're really cool. Some of the extra bits that you get on here are really cool, and I can see other uses for them. Like, there's much better exhaust on this. In fact, there's loads of really cool exhausts, better than the last one. There's some really cool sort of cog details in the back of the chassis there. The only downside with this one, well, not the only downside, I can pick at things all day, me, but the biggest downside to this model is that the orcs that are involved, and is there a grot involved in this situation? I don't think there is. No, it's just, oh, there is. There's a grot. They are not compatible with the rest of the range, so they're not so customizable, which is a real shame. Like the torsos are, they're here and here. They're like bits of torso. There's another bit of here, and the heads have got weird connections. They're unusual to the standard way that orc heads are usually done, so that's disappointing. But there are lots of really cool sort of skull details on this kit as well. Like there's this chap here, like that, and then inside of the hubcaps of the wheels, you've got these screaming sort of like screaming skulls, like they're the sort of Speed Freaks emblem that you see on the back of the war boss there on the war trike. Yeah, I think that's quite cool. Would have liked to have seen some of the traditional orc skull emblems and stuff like that as well represented. It seems that I don't think any of these kits have any of the traditional orc glyphs on them, funny enough. That's something to note. No, I don't think I've seen any of the traditional orc glyphs on any of these new vehicles. That's interesting. So, to close, I would like to say that Orktober, and I don't feel comfortable even calling it that, because I feel like it didn't really happen. And what did happen wasn't what was promised. The hype wasn't worth it. No, it wasn't really worth it. I am happy about the new models. I'm not an absolute pessimist. I love orcs, and I love these new models. They're great, but they don't have options. They're replacements of things that I wanted replaced, not written off and completely overhauled by something else. And the something else has less options. If these were entries in the Codex that were War Buggy or War Track and they had the three various options that you could have, I would have been happier. Had the Codex remained versatile for the modeler so you can actually arm your models differently, I would have been happier. Had we had a box of new orc troops, I'd have been happier. Just even with one less of those vehicles, you know, those vehicles are great, but they're very much, as I say, like a Primaris Marine. You can't do anything with them, you can't customise them in any way, and that's what orcs are all about. So I feel that this Codex has really sucked a lot of the life out of the orc hobby. It's a gamer's codex is what it is. It's not a modeller's codex. So people are going to have mixed opinions because a lot of people are one or the other or a bit of both. And so if you're a bit of both, you're going to be you know, relatively happy that your army performs better. You're going to be relatively upset that some of your army no longer exists and that some of your options that you took no longer exist. So swings and roundabouts really, I guess, but overall, it's not the Codex that they promised, the one that we've all been waiting for, or any of that. So I'm overall disappointed. Also, before I leave, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Wargamers Unification Group. In particular to Big Mech Danskull, to Rage Against the Dice, to Skarnir, and to 6+ Stevo, and of course Nick Beer. Now, all of these people have been really very helpful in promoting me and telling people to watch me and actually behind the scenes giving me messages of support and giving me a little bit of direction. And I've really felt welcomed into the community, and I'd like to give a special thanks to all of those people and all of the other people that have engaged with me in the comments and stuff like that. I'm really feeling the love, guys, and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Despite having lost the product of a few days work there, I'm still enjoying it, so thank you. And I'd like to thank you because now I've reached over 100 subscribers, so I'm going to be doing another competition, and this competition is to win the Orc Pain Boy, this bad boy here. Now you may have seen it given away on other channels, or I'm giving it away here too. Now all you have to do to win this Pain Boy is answer this simple question. In this video I discussed how the engine that belongs in the Mech Boy's workshop is actually very similar to the engine of one of the new vehicles. If you know which one of those new vehicles I'm speaking about, put the name of it in a comment down below, like this video and subscribe to this channel, and you'll be in with a chance to win this Pain Boy. That's all you have to do. Until next time, boys and gits, enough said.